What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today, and the road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams this summer ends this weekend. We got 4 videos left, and today we are in Reno, Nevada. We're going to be talking about the Nevada Wolfpack and a team that is still trying to build some momentum, still trying to find that identity. How far are they going to rise or fall in the Mountain West Conference? My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate. Thank you all so much for clicking on the video and for helping to support the channel. You want to support it further? Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you're locked in for this college football season, as well as you don't want to miss the standing predictions, college football playoff predictions, anything of the sort. And when you take a deep dive into my social media, hey, I'm a sports media graduate delving into the professional world of the industry. So you want to see all the cool stuff I get to do, follow me on there at tailgatenate29. You can also email me at tailgatenate29@gmail.com. I will apologize for my voice today. Woke up and don't really quite know it's sounding like this, but regardless, thank you all so much for supporting and interacting with me in the channel in whatever way you may be doing so. And let's get started with 4 teams left. 4 teams left. The Nevada Wolfpack up first, and Jeff Choate is that head coach yet again this year. Honestly, not a horrible season last year. You saw some good moments. Overall, though, not where you wanted to be in year one. Nevada did have a 13-team schedule, just something you don't see out of a lot of college football teams. In fact, you see out of no college football teams this season. There will be no 13-game schedules. Nevada, one of those interesting teams to figure out. A lot of people pinning them at the bottom of the Mountain West, but this is very much a team that, who knows, you may find out they got some pretty solid pieces here. How do we do preview predictions here on the channel? Well, we are going to go through a roster overview, offense over here to the left, defense over here to the right, and at the end of the video, we'll dive on into the Nevada football schedule. I'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction, and this video overall is here to tell all of you what I think about the Wolf Pack, 2 separate words, here in 2025. Before we do get started, right down below me are returning production numbers. Those are according to ESPN, and they factor in portal additions up to a certain percentage, and then even down below that, your recruiting and transfer portal ranks for the class of 2025 are according to 24/7 Sports. All right, let's kick things off with your offensive coordinator, David Gilbertson, here in 2025. Your starting quarterback from last season, Brendan Lewis, has transferred out of the program. He has emerged as that starting quarterback now with the Memphis Tigers. That got announced pretty recently. Last year for Brendan Lewis, 2,290 yards, 16 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on around 67.5% completion percentage. Was a really good, solid quarterback here for Nevada, helped them win a lot of games. And so now you do have a question at the quarterback position. You do return some other solid pieces like AJ Bianco. Anthony Walter is going to be a younger guy in this room. Carter Jones is a freshman coming in. But there is without shadow of a doubt that I think Chubba Purdy is going to end up being the starter here in this room. Now, that also is a little raise for concern because Chubba Purdy has not necessarily had the cleanest college football career. Of course, he started at Florida State, transferred out of that program, went over to Nebraska, had some bright moments, but overall a lot of downsides with what you saw out of him in a black shirt uniform. Well, I guess he didn't play defense, so Husker fans might get mad at me for saying that. But when he was in the Big Ten, there were some down moments, and last year sat on the bench behind Brendan Lewis. Still got some reps, though, 239 yards, a touchdown, and a pick last year. And in very limited action, did average at 9.6 yards per attempt, which means the yards per completion number was even higher, and did complete 72% of his passes. He was 18 of 25. So I think he showed a little bit of promise last year, but Chubba Purdy's absolutely a guy that we need to see more out of on a consistent basis, right? Especially if he is going to be that primary starting option. He's got to step up his game. He's got to provide overall more consistency. And I mean, when you get into the fact of, again, what Brendan Lewis meant to this offense, not only was he a pretty good passer last year, he was also the team's leading rusher. 775 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground. He led the team in rushing and had pretty good yards per carry, too, right around 5 yards per carry. Chubba Purdy can flash that ability, but I overall don't think he has as high of upside as Brendan Lewis. However, if he can provide some consistency, I think you're going to see him be a really solid starting quarterback and a guy that, while I don't think you need anything spectacular out of, wouldn't hurt. As long as he can stay consistent, he can help lead this offense fairly well. Now, speaking of your rushing game, again, I don't know what's going on with my voice there. I apologize. Savion Red is going to leave this running back room. In the running back department, he was your leading rusher. 687 yards and 8 touchdowns on nearly 6 yards per carry. He's transferred over to the FCS ranks. He is now with Sacramento State. So he is transferred out, as well as this entire room is really going to turn on its head here. You do get some nice solid pieces back. However, Caleb Ramseur is coming back. Kai Woods is back. Ashton Hayes. But a guy that I'm really watching for is a guy that transfers in from a different Mountain West program. Believe it's a Utah State transfer, and it is. And that's a guy by the name of Herschel Turner. Now, Herschel Turner last year really did not see that much playing time with the Aggies, but according to ourlads.com, he is that projected starting running back. Now, I still believe that you got some solid pieces again, like Ramsor and others and names that I've mentioned. They all bring a lot of experience, but besides Savion Red, your top three, or I should say with Savion Red, your top 3 rushers out of the running back room are gone from last year. You want to throw in Pat Garwo, as well as the likes of Sean Dollars into that conversation as well. So this is a running back room that's going to see some big overturn. We'll see if Herschel Turner can provide that lift. I mean, if it was Herschel Walker, I think we'd be having a little bit of different conversation about this running back room. Herschel Turner, if he can provide that lift, be that starting back, even if it's one of these experience options, that's going to take a massive step up in their role this year. Anyway, you do got to replace a lot in this running back room. You also got to replace a lot out of your wide receiver room. 2 of your top 3 weapons, in fact, your top 2 weapons, are gone from last season. Jaden Smith is now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 849 yards and 7 touchdowns for him last season. And then Cortez Bram has left the team as well. He had 724 yards and 4 touchdowns last season. So when you take a look at who does return, well, there was only one other really good primary option for the team last year. That's a guy by the name of Marcus Bellin. He is going to be coming back, and a ton of portal pieces are entering around him as this little wide receiver room that's really going to go through a lot of change this year. Jordan Brown is into the program, transferring over from Texas Tech. I believe he had another Power 4 stop as well. Yes, he did. It was at Kansas, and he's had a couple pretty solid seasons, so I think he provides some good value. Dakota Thomas is coming over. He is formerly of Western Kentucky, but right now is coming over from Southern Miss. And then Nick Rempert is in here as well. He's a North Texas transfer that can provide some pretty good upside in that realm. You do have a couple other returners, such as Marshawn Brown and Charles Brown, that could end up being solid pieces for you as well. But I think these transfers, especially that of Jordan Brown, going to play a pretty big impact with Marcus Bell in there to lead. Your top tight end in Jace Henry is going to come back, even though he wasn't super utilized last year, was not utilized that well. Or I shouldn't say not utilized well. He just wasn't utilized that much in the passing game. Jet Carpenter's a transfer that is going to enter behind him. On the offensive line, 3 seniors are going to highlight this unit, and it is all on the right side. Your center and Andrew Madrigal, your right guard and Josh Grabowski, and your right tackle and John Bowles. Transfers are going to fill into the left side of that offensive line that didn't really have that bad of a season last year. 4.6 yards per carry is what the run game had. And yeah, they gave up 28 sacks last year, which, I mean, when you look at it, you could say, okay, well, they gave up 28 sacks. Part of that could be because Brendan Lewis got outside of the pocket and got himself trapped, but more often than not, pass protection. Biggest thing for Nevada's offensive line to work on. I think that's going to be a massive key for you. So when you move on over to the defensive side, with your defensive quarter in Kane Iowane, hopefully I said that last name correctly. If not, feel free to correct me. There were some ups with last year's Nevada defense, but a lot of downs last year, and they're really going to be looking to hone in that consistency. Only 14 sacks last year, and they only forced 3 fumbles, only recovered 2 of them. Now, the secondary, again, that's where you saw some of the ups, right? 44 passes defended, 11 interceptions, did have a pick 6 last year as well. And so there are still those good pieces that are going to be prevalent, but a lot of talent is gone. And a lot of guys that brought some of that high upside to this defense last year are going to be moving on from this Nevada program. One of those guys on the defensive front is Henry Ikahihifo. He leads the front as the sack leader, from last season. That being with 3.5 sacks last year to go along with 43 tackles, was a top 10 tackler and the leading tackler on this defensive front. You do still have a lot of talented pieces that are going to see their return to the defensive front. Nelson Ropati is back in the middle of that defense. You do have Jonathan Maldonado, Dylan LaBarbera. Those are some other really good names that come back. A lot of guys entering the portal, going to fit into that 2 deep really nicely to help bulk up your depth and players that you lost. So yes, Ika Hihifo is a massive loss, but you still got some really nice talented pieces here. And I still think the defensive front can have some pretty solid upside, but you've got to find a way to manufacture that pass rush, be able to force those sacks, those tackles for loss. That was lacking with this Nevada defense last year. Again, we've talked about it so much with teams in the past, but the teams last season, or at least I'm previewing last year, all seem to have a pretty common theme. They struggled up front. So did Nevada last season, and that extended a little bit into their linebacker room. Well, your lead linebacking tackler from, or I say your lead tackling linebacker from last year is going to see his career come to a close. His name is as follows: Tongiaki Mate Alona. Hopefully I'm saying that name correctly, but he had a phenomenal career with this Nevada team, had 61 tackles last year, sack and a half, as well as a couple pass breakups last season. He was your lead tackler out of the linebacking unit, as I said earlier, and he is going to close. However, right on his tail was a guy that just has a fantastic name. Stone Combs is going to be back to this linebacking unit. He figures to be that leader here, 58 tackles in the sack, but behind him, you do see a lot of other pieces leave. You are still going to get a nice couple of returners coming in. Most notably is going to be a guy by the name of Austin Harnato. Hopefully, again, saying that last name correctly, but you also do bring in some transfers to really help with all the depth pieces that you lost. Najee Logan is projected to start at the will position for you. He is going to end up coming over from Indiana, and guys, he had a great season last year. 60 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, did have a pass defended, and so that's a really big piece coming over to this Nevada team. And then EJ Smith is going to be backing up their Cerritos College transfer. In the defensive back room, again, another massive overhaul. Well, okay, I can't say again, but a massive overhaul is going to happen here in the defensive back room. Pretty much every top piece from last year, I believe top 5 or 6 tacklers or some like that, are gone off last year. You still got a pretty high young talent, or high upside young talent in Bishop Turner. That's going to end up playing your nickelback position this year. Other than that, though, a lot of this room will be led by transfers. I think they're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. You got Edward Rambo coming over from Bowling Green, where he had 22 tackles last year. You have Mervyn Kenyon, who is a Sac State transfer, and then AJ Odoms is a UTEP transfer, formerly of New Mexico. You go back to 2023, 36 tackles, 8 passes defended. So you are getting a pretty good corner in there. By the way, Edward Rambo going to play opposite in that corner room. Before we talk about the defense as a whole, special teams report, because obviously, guys, come on, kickers are people too. A freshman punter this season, and Bailey Ettridge. He's from Australia. He's projected to start, while Keaton Emmett is a transfer coming in to play your kicker. That's your special teams report. Again, guys, kickers are people too. So when you overall take a look at what this Nevada team is going to be built like this year, obviously you got to replace a lot of production, and you still got a lot of questions about this team, right? What is Chubba Purdy going to look like at the quarterback position? How does he fill in for Brendan Lewis? You got to replace a lot of skill position pieces and get the offensive line in proven pass pro. That'll be big for the success of Chubba Purdy. Defensively, losing some leaders throughout every single room, especially that secondary. Who steps up, and where does the extra production come from? Where do you make it up from last season? I think the secondary is going to be very well fine. I think it's going to be a pretty good unit, just like it was last year. However, rest of the defense and then the front, you still got the concerns, right? How are they going to bulk up that defensive front? All right, let's now go ahead and take a look at the Nevada 2025 football schedule. But before we give this a game-by-game preview and prediction, I want you to look right down below me. FanDuel odds are courtesy of FanDuel. Obviously, no, I'm not sponsored, and no, I'm not telling you to go place your money anywhere. It just does provide some nice, good context to see how good the odds makers think Nevada's going to be this year. These are current as of recording this video, and the one biggest thing that I will note is in a lot of my past videos, this number right here for the college football playoff odds has reached 10,000. It is only like that for a few select programs on the odds market right now. Now the lowest number that you can get there is 5,000. That's the most common low number that I have seen. Maybe there's something going on with the system or whatnot. I'm just telling you right now, plus 5,000 odds is the highest that you're going to get for the most part. However, treat that 5,000 as a 10,000 for what we've seen in previous videos. And obviously, we know it's going to take a lot for him to win the conference. Biggest number you got to look at with the group of 5 teams, this over under win total. Hey, 3.5. They got 3 wins last year, but can they exceed that total this year? I think the Mountain West has got a lot of really solid teams in it, and I do think that, you take a look at their non-conference schedule, there are quite a bit of pitfalls, and it starts with that first game against Penn State. The year, I just don't think going to be competitive at all. Penn State's going to be one of the best teams in the country this year. They got Drew Aller, they got Katron Allen, they got Nick Singleton, they got really good defensive pieces, finally wide receivers that can stretch you on the outside, and I don't have to talk about why Penn State's going to be more. However, this second game right here, Sacramento State, that's interesting, isn't it? That's a very interesting game. You got a lot of Nevada transfers that are going over to Sac State, a lot of Sac State transfers that are coming over here to Nevada. Again, the most notable one differing, or I should say, entering and exiting between the two schools, same red, Nevada over to Sac State. So this is going to be a very interesting game. And now look, the Hornets are not going to be a team that is going to dominate the FCS level like they did, I don't believe it was last year. I believe it was a couple of seasons ago. However, they're still going to be one of the better teams you will see at the FCS level. It's a team that always brings in a lot of talent. They are a very good program. And I think that this game can end up being very competitive. I do think Nevada is going to win. I think Jeff Cho is a coach that really can boost his team up here. And again, Sac State, if they were as talented as they were a couple of years ago, I might be a little bit more hesitant about this one, but I do believe that Nevada will be able to get that win. And moving forward, I think that you're going to look back at that one and probably look at how Sac State performs throughout the season and say, man, that's going to end up being, again, when a lot of people take a look, FBS to FCS wins never going to look that impressive. That one can be, especially with where both these programs are at their respective levels. Middle Tennessee is up next in week 3, and again, I've made this mistake in the past of really trusting what Middle Tennessee is doing. They showed some good things under Derek Mason last year, and I think he's really going to get it figured out this year. On top of the fact that I like Nick Vadiato at the quarterback position, even with all the transfers they lose, I still like what he's got in this wide receiver room. They've got some solid defensive pieces, and I really do think they figure it out this year. While they see their fair share of struggles, I think Middle Tennessee is going to start to pull it together and climb the ranks in Conference USA. Taking a chance on them this year, I do think they're going to be a solid team, and I don't think this Nevada secondary is ready to defend everything that Vadiato is going to be able to air at them this season. And you can say the same thing with Western Kentucky. We know they're going to have a high-flying passing attack, even though Caden Veltkamp and Easton Messer have both left for FAU to go join Zach Kitley. You still have Maverick McIver, a quarterback coming over from Abilene Christian that I really, really like. I think he's going to be a gunslinger for this Hilltopper team. And Tyson Helton is building this team in a fantastic direction, just short of a Conference USA championship last year, and they absolutely can get there in 2025. On the road against Fresno State after the bye week, as now you are beginning conference play, and I really do think it's going to be a struggle in conference play for you this year. When you take a look at the schedule, the games that you could probably pick out here as winnable, as look, it is not the toughest conference schedule, not by a long shot, but the games that you pick out as winnable here: New Mexico, winnable game; Utah State, winnable game; Wyoming, winnable game; road game, road game, road game. This one right here against Fresno State, I don't categorize as one of those games. I would say the next game definitely is. Fresno State is a team that I think you're going to lose to here in 2025. Fresno State's got some really good pieces. EJ Warner is coming in to play quarterback. They got a new head coach in Matt Entz, who I think might struggle a little bit in his first year, but Fresno State's a very talented team that I think is going to see their ups and downs, but overall will be a very, very solid and good competitive team out of the Mountain West Conference. So again, like I just ran through, winnable game, winnable game, winnable game, but you got them all on the road. This is a winnable game that you have at home. However, I think that Sean Lewis is going to start to put the troops together and figure things out a little bit better here with the San Diego State team. I do think they improve this year. Jaden Denegal, a transfer from Michigan, is looking to be that starting quarterback for him this year. In fact, I think he's really starting to emerge and winning that job. San Diego State is going to be a team that I'm really excited to watch this year. I think that offense can take a step forward in the right direction. I think the defense can absolutely get back to maybe not the exact standard you saw under Brady Hoke and coaches previously, because they had some wickedly good defenses. But this is a San Diego State team that I think is going to take strides towards getting back to where they were a couple of seasons ago, right? And I definitely think that that's going to end up being a loss for Nevada. And as far as these winnable games go, so look, you got winnable game, really tough competition. Winnable game, really tough competition. Winnable game, really tough competition. And it goes road, home, road, home, road, home. That if it was flipped, I think Nevada could see a lot more of a successful season. But you could absolutely make the case, and spoiler alert, I'm going to, for all of these road games to be lost for Nevada. So let's start out with New Mexico. Yes, they lost a lot of talent. Devin Dampier is gone, as well as the plethora of pieces around him that made this offense really dangerous. The defensive pieces, you do lose quite a bit of them. However, there are some really solid ones that come back, especially in that linebacking unit, and overall the front seven as a whole. Now, the secondary is going to be entirely rebuilt. Yes, okay, good. That's all well and great. But this is absolutely a New Mexico team now under new management with their new head coach in Jason Eck, that I think can be maybe not that great of a team this year, but I think they got a lot of solid pieces that I'm looking at, and I just overall have a little bit more confidence in the overall talent than I do with Nevada. I like Nevada's coach better. I like Jeff Choate better than I like Jason Eck, but I think especially coupled with this being a road game, New Mexico has still got some solid talent. I think Jack Lane's going to prove to be a good quarterback for him this year, and I think they beat Nevada there in Albuquerque. Boise State's still going to be the best team in the Mountain West, even without Ashton Genty. You got Maddox Madsen coming back. You got really good defensive pieces. That secondary is going to be loaded this year yet again. No argument here. I don't think I'll get one. Boise State will be able to beat Nevada, even though it is a road game. On the road against Utah State. Okay, Utah State's another one. Again, you're looking at and saying, okay, we can beat this team. Again, I'm going to make the case for why you don't. Now, nothing in this quarterback room blows me away, right? Bryson Barnes doesn't blow me away. Anthony Garcia doesn't blow me away. Neither does CJ Tiller. But I think Bryson Barnes is going to be serviceable enough for this Utah State team to be really good, or not really good, but to have this offense be pretty darn solid and be a little tough to stop. Javen Jacobs is a New Mexico running back transfer coming in that I really like. You're bringing in a ton of good wide receiver transfers. I think they got a lot of high upside. Rehashing the defense a little bit, but bringing in especially some good transfers to that defensive backfield. I think Utah State can surprise a little bit of people this year. While I don't think they're going to do anything spectacular, I like some of their individual pieces, and I do think that they will beat Nevada. San Jose State, even without Nick Nash, has still got a lot of returning talent. Walker again at the quarterback position, Floyd Chalk in the running back room, as well as some really good defensive pieces. San Jose State very well could push to get into that conference title game this season. I do think that that team under Ken Niumatalolo is going to be that good. On the road against Wyoming. All right, here you go. Is Nevada going to go 1 for 3 here? Are they going to go 0 for 3? Well, again, I spoiled it already. I think they go 0 for 3 on those road games. Nothing, again, with this offense really is going to jump out at me that much. However, I think they got a lot of solid pieces. I think Caden Anderson can be a solid piece in the quarterback room, and he's got some good skill position pieces around him, and especially when you look at this defensive unit for Wyoming. I think a lot of people are sleeping on a couple of the transfers that they're bringing in here, especially Chisholm Ifiani. Ifiani. Apologies. Again, if I mispronounced that name, I definitely just butchered it. But you're bringing in a lot of good defensive transfers. You got some good pieces already coming back there. And I think that while Wyoming going to be another team in the Mountain West that I think is still overall going to struggle this year, the identity can start being built under Jay Sawvell here in year 2. At least it started to get built last year. It's really going to get hammered home this season. And then UNLV, going to be still one of the best teams in the Mountain West. Yes, they lost a lot, but have you seen that portal class they're bringing in? Have you seen who their head coach is going to be? Guys, Dan Mullen was a really good head coach at the Power 4 level, just some unfortunate circumstances that led him to be driven out. UNLV, I think, is still that team to push Boise State for the top of the Mountain West. So, yeah, it's going to feel like a disappointing season. However, again, I think this is a Nevada team that really can grow and really can be potentially a better side overall than they were last year, even though I think the talent they had last year in a lot of aspects exceeds what they do have this year. I think Jeff Choate's the guy that can really help build this program. And again, you look, they got some games on here that you're looking at and thinking, okay, yeah, you definitely can win that one. You can win that one, so on and so forth. But you got them all on the road. This is a pretty interesting schedule to navigate here for Nevada, and I just don't think it goes well for the Wolfpack this year. But please let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And remember to play hard but tailgate harder. 3 videos left. Georgia State's up next. Goodbye.